Hey there, how's it going? Today we're going to be talking about appoggiaturas, or some people call them accented passing notes. Playing notes that are in the chord being the safest choice when you're improvising. And then there's the other notes in the scale, but in previous videos we've been talking about playing those notes in passing as passing notes. This technique's different. This is where you're playing a note that you know has tension, but you're playing it on the beat on purpose to create tension. Start by playing just the notes in this A minor chord. So A, 2nd fret, C, which is on the 5th fret, E, which is on the 9th fret. So A, C, E, or could call them by their number. So I've got the root note, the 1, minor 3rd, and the 5th. And all of these can be repeated in the higher octave, so. And each of these choices is a comfortable one. So you could just finish a phrase on, start or finish a phrase on these notes. And there's not a lot of tension. So there's other notes in between these safe points that we've established, and in previous videos you would play them but only in passing to get to one of the other safe points. I have to make that baseball analogy, right? You're at one of the bases, so you're safe, and then in between, running between one base and the other, that's where there's a little bit, right, tension. So in between A and C is a B. In between C and E, we've got a D. Right? Again, before kind of just trying to, or, so starting off with a safe note, knowing you're going to, your target is another safe note, and you're just putting that one in the middle. This technique, appoggiaturas, or accented passing notes, whatever you want to call them. So you're going to play like this B note that I played in passing before. I'm just going to play it right on the beat with the purpose of creating tension with it. So, and just listen to the rub against the chord. Right? So it's feels less at ease, at rest, than if I'd finished on. Now, the ultimate goal is to get back to a safe note. Not always. Sometimes we'll leave you a song just hanging on that. Or like there. But that's not on purpose, you know. But generally speaking, if I play this B note, it's to go to one of the safe notes, either resolving down to the A or up to the C. Same with this D, right? So it could bend, let's say we bend up to it and then fall down to the C. Or up to this E. Or the one that caused the most tension, this F. But you really want to hear that. So each level of this is you're deciding how much tension the audience hears. Either just sticking with these notes that are in the chord, or you're playing the other notes in the scale but playing them quickly so they don't get too much attention. as opposed to with this technique putting a lot of stress on them, because they have a more of an emotional impact than if you're just quickly playing through these things. Okay, so this is E minor. So the big thing is now all the safe notes have changed, right? So instead of being A, C, E, the safe notes are now E, G, B. So G, B, E. I suppose the E is the same, except here it's the root note instead of being the fifth, but again, not a lot of tension. So let's start playing some of these notes. So right, so that C is gonna rub up against the notes of E minor. This F sharp. Always be careful when you're pre-bending. You want to, because you can't hear the notes. It has to be on feel alone. And then the real tricky part is trying to remember all this when the band is playing different chords. So that's like a modal thing where someone's going to play one chord for 16, 32 bars, but generally speaking, you're going to get not just this, but the band's going to change between A minor and E minor, or whatever the chords happen to be. And every time the band changes the chords, you have to map out where the new safe notes are, or the new basses. If you have the, if you're thinking the baseball analogy. So I'll just play A minor for a few bars, try to map out the safe notes, and then play a few appoggiaturas, then change the chord and do the same thing. So A minor. This third category then. Safest notes you can play, notes in the chord. Second level would be in the scale, but not in the chord, so these. Right, or depending. And then there's the notes that are not in the key at all, so that would be. This is a little bit of a murky waters because there's so many variations of a minor scale that all of that is technically in some form of a minor scale. Flat 5. Obviously that would have a kind of a blues connotation normally. But normally that's, when it's played in the blues context, it's normally on its way somewhere, or it's trying to imitate a vocal inflection. It's not usually played like right on the beat like that. You can play it like that. So again, as long as you resolve, it doesn't really matter. Probably the weirdest one to get away with. Alright, that's us. That was a little bit about appoggiaturas or accented passing notes. If you have any more questions about it, just leave them in the comments. And if you like this kind of stuff, subscribe, because I'm going to be doing a whole series of these. 10 melodic devices I can think of, this being one of them, to expand your improvising outside of the boxes that we all play. This type of thing is trying to play in a more linear style across a single string, taking each single string at a time, and then over time having full knowledge of 6 strings, but not due to any type of shape, just you had knowledge of a single string and then another single string, and then it's all put together by the end. So it might still look like you're going across some type of shape to someone looking, but to you, you're thinking of it a different way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.